All right, guys, so here's the rundown on the property that I told you I'd do a video on about how I turned $70,000 into 410 in 5 days. This is a really basic breakdown, but again, I'll be honest, this is not a complicated process. So anyway, so here's kind of the down and dirty of how the deal went. So I bought it for $70,000. I put roughly $15,000 into it. I put a new roof on it. Had to rent some dumpsters, about 7 20-yard dumpsters actually. I got a skid steer, and then I hired some guys to just do some general labor and help me clear it out. And so that, including closing costs from buying it and then later selling it, it was all in about 15 grand. So I'm in the property at roughly 85,000 bucks. So I then sold the property to a gentleman for $210,000. So I'm sure immediately you're going, well, where did you come up with 410? So I'll get there, so bear with me. He gave me, on that 210, he gave me $20,000 down. So I'm now in the property at roughly 65,000 bucks. So what I did was, he owed $190,000. So what I did was I held that note. So essentially I am the bank. I am listed as the first lien holder, and he will send me a monthly payment with principal and interest, just like you would any bank when you borrowed money from them to buy a home. So the note is 25 years at 7.2% interest. I gave him a true 25-year note, again, kind of like you get from a traditional lender. It's got no early call, no prepayment penalty, and I also let it be assumable in the event he wanted to sell it to somebody else and they wanted to assume what he had left over in principal. Because realistically, what I want is that I'd love it if I got this note for 25 years. So again, let me get to how it gets to 410. So that note is $1,367 a month. So he will pay me $1,367 a month, potentially for 25 years. $1,367 a month comes out to $16,406 a year. So you got to remember, he gave me 20 grand down. I'm in it at roughly 65,000 bucks, and so I'm getting $16,406 back every year on that $65,000. That is about a 25% annual return on my money. So if you're getting a better return on your money than that, sitting in the bank, please call and let me know where you've got your money, because I need to put some money there. So of course, there's always the potential that he pays me off early. So let's just say he pays me off at year 10. At year 10, at the end of year 10, he would still owe me $150,000, and he will have paid me about 135 grand in interest. So again, that's still a win. And so I've gotten some phone calls and stuff from friends who were just asking me, like, hey, I saw your post, how did you do that? And what was that deal? And people have asked me, so why didn't you keep it as a rental? And for me, so I've got a mix. I've got some of this kind of stuff. I've got rentals. This property was out in Bethpage, which is a bit of a stretch for me. I didn't want to have maintenance issues, having to meet potential renters there. I didn't want to make that drive. It was a bit too far. So this was a good fit for me. And then I've also been asked, well, why didn't you sell it outright? Because what it obviously would have been was 210 less the 85, so $125,000. And to be honest, I didn't want that lump sum of income, because then I would have had to have paid 30 some odd percent on that $125,000 at the end of the year. Because guess what? Uncle Sam, he deserves 30 something percent of that money for all the work and all the risk that he took. So, so anyway, in a nutshell, that's what I did. So again, how do you get to 410? Well, if he pays me for the full 25 years, that comes out to $410,000 and some change is what he would have paid me in total for that piece of property. And again, I've also been asked to, so private notes, they do tend to default a little bit more than a traditional note because again, there's no vetting process or not as strenuous one. It's whatever I felt like doing. So there's always the potential that he defaults. But the thing that I look at it as is I'm in the property at 65 grand. He's going to complete the remodel. And then let's say he defaults in 5 years. Well, then I take the property back and he still made me payments for 5 years and I still had his initial 20 grand. I get the property back and I do the same thing with it all over again. If it needs to be redone, I'll redo it again and sell it, or just sell it outright as it sits. I mean, it gives me options. So I'm not really concerned with him defaulting. Plus this gentleman is somebody who already rents from me, and he's never had an issue making payments. And actually that $1,367 plus of course he'll have to pay for taxes and insurance. It's about what he pays in rent now. So I'm pretty confident he'll make that note. So in saying all that, that's how I did this deal. I always want to tell people, guys, if you want to get into this business, and you want to start doing this kind of thing, please call me. I'm always open to talk to you about it. Those of you that know me, like everybody kind of has their thing that they nerd out over, and real estate in all forms is it for me. So I love talking about it. You never call me, and if you say, hey, I want to just run through some stuff with you, I'm never agitated by that or anything. That's always something I enjoy doing. If you've got a piece of property that you've got an inside track on that you want to buy, you want to meet me, or you want me to meet you out there, again, still more than happy to do it. How I buy properties too is a bit different than, maybe what a lot of traditionally people do. And if you've looked at my page, you've seen the stuff I buy. I mean, typically I buy just completely trashed out pieces of property. But what I do when I meet with a seller normally is I just walk the property, and as I'm going through it, I'm calculating in my mind, how much it's going to cost me to remodel it. And again, that just kind of comes from years of experience. I can look at a roof and I can say it's about that many squares and know about what it's going to cost, or I know about what an HVAC unit's going to cost me and about how many tons I'm going to need, and flooring and paint and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sort of calculating that in my mind. And then I make people an offer, usually right there on the spot. The other way I buy properties is, of course, and just to be realistic, at least for the stuff that I buy, is I offer cash. And I usually offer cash as is, where is. I usually tell people you can take whatever out of here you want, you leave what you don't, and you just walk away. So I offer speed and convenience, and that usually is a combination sellers are looking for. So for instance, this piece of property that we're talking about, if you went to a bank and told them you wanted to finance that, first off, it takes time. And secondly, a lot of them, honestly, they just wouldn't finance a piece of property like that. But if they did, you'd need to probably get a construction loan from them, or use some form of line of credit, which of course a line of credit would be quick, but you'd need to establish that prior to. But what I'm getting at is normally cash is the way to go on pieces of property like this. The last thing I was going to tell you guys about is I probably get, 5 calls a week, give or take, people who are wanting to do something like this. And I'll talk to them, and inevitably I almost never hear from them again, or they'll kind of re-engage me every so often, and then they fall off the map. And ultimately, they usually never buy anything, which is fine. But if you really truly want to do this, you need to learn the market, learn what's a good deal and a bad deal. You need to have some money. If you don't have the money, then you need to find a partner who's got the money, and you need to chase the deals. But the other thing too is, please don't call an agent and say, hey, I want you to help me buy a rental, if they don't do it themselves or know how to do it, because you need to know how to do cash flows and returns. And you need to talk to somebody who knows what a remodel is going to cost. There are so many agents out there that act like they've done all sorts of these deals. And so I usually, if somebody calls me and they say, hey, Joe Smith's helping me buy my first rental, and we're just talking. I usually ask them, I say, well, how many rentals does Joe Smith have? And it seems like the answer is usually always none. So that's kind of a red flag, because again, you need somebody that's done this for themselves typically. So anyway, guys, that's how I did this deal. If you've got questions, please call and ask me. I'm always here to help and talk about it. Again, those of you that know me, like, this is something that I do every day. But of course, my bread and butter is helping people like yourselves buy and sell your personal properties. So please call me for that too. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, if you do think you want to get into this, you have got to hunt every day. I do get questions a lot more, especially over the last couple of years, because the market's been so tough, is how do I get deals? Honestly, it's because I'm out chasing them every day. I will walk up and knock on a door of a distressed looking property and talk to the homeowners. I get online every day. I drive properties. I send out mailers. I do all sorts of stuff. But basically, you've got to chase this, every day. You can't chime in on this once a week or once a month, because you're just not going to get any deals that way. So any questions, please give me a call. I hope this helps somebody out. If there's just like one person out there who starts chasing down investment properties because that's something they want to do, then great. And I wish you guys all the best. Thanks.